no one devalues the city like our own people.
That's heavy.
Yeah, because I can bring in. I mean, I've sold a lot of my deals. I sell is from, especially in the neighborhoods, is to out of towners. I try to sell it to Detroiters first, but if I tell you that something's worth 1.5 million, and the first thing I'll hear is, "Who's spending $1 million in Detroit?" Plenty, plenty. We just gotta get our own. We gotta get our own people, and I mean Detroiters, to kind of see the value, and try to start investing more and doing more in our neighborhoods.
What's going on?
What's going on, man? I'm Marcel Pearl with Encore Real Estate, man. Welcome to the PC Go Project.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, man. Here we go. This is one space. So this one of the spaces we got available. This one's about 2,200 square feet. Our asking rent here is about $22 a square foot. This one right now is what you would call, different people will tell you what a white box is, but this is what you would almost call like a gray box, is what I'll say.
Why would you call this a gray box? I mean, it technically has the walls up. It looks like you got the HVAC in, fire suppression.
It's not what most people call a white box, because there's no electrical, there's no plumbing coming in right now. So, and that's typically, and there's also really not an official ceiling. So typically a white box is 4 walls with the electrical ran, the ductwork for the HVAC, and the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. I'm like, I didn't see you work on. I know the presentation,
Right.
You know what I mean? But they like,
They get a little nervous.
nah, they still just want me to come. I be like, so I don't I'm like, I don't really need to go to this every time. Like, I seen y'all work on this.
Right.
Like, I know what the presentation is.
You gotta be there for the support, man.
Yeah, that's what they want. So that's why I don't even trip. And I like to be there. He got friends. What I do is sometimes like my younger son, best friend, parents can't always take off like that. I can take off or whatever, it don't matter to me.
Right.
But I'll go in there and I'll record him too.
Okay, looking out for the.
Yup. Because I know they can't make it.
So I mean, like, this flexibility, I mean, that's pretty dope, man. Like, being in real estate and still having that flexibility to be able to make it to things like your children's events and things like that, man. That has to be big.
That flexibility, man. Because I ain't had a 9 to 5. I ain't had a 9 to 5, and even before I got in real estate, I ain't had a 9 to 5 since it's been 15 years.
15. Wow.
Yeah, 2010 was the last time I had a 9 to 5. I worked at Xfinity.
Okay.
I was in sales then too, though. We was selling there.
Yeah.
So I've been in sales. I've been in a sales position for the last 20 years.
So what made you get into real estate?
What got me into real estate? So my family was in real estate. My father and my grandfather owned houses and apartments. So it's always been around. And then what made me go get my license was just I always been in sales, so I thought, like, what's the way to achieve? Where can I make some money? Where can I make some money and do sales? Real estate is always something. Every person who think they can sell something, they can sell houses. I got my license to sell houses, to be honest with you. And got my license to sell houses. Along that process of like finding a broker is where somebody introduced me and just said to me, "Why don't you do commercial?" That's the like short version of it, but I was just like, okay, well, I don't know what that means technically, because I just thought everybody did everything. And then that's just kind of from there. It just how it happened, bro. It just kind of learning brokers, finding the brokers, getting into the world. That was damn near, what year is it? 2024. That was damn near 9 years ago.
Wow. So you started off on the residential side.
Well, no, I thought I was.
Okay.
I never sold a house.
Never sold one house.
I never sold one house.
Wow. So as soon as you got your license, you jumped right into commercial real estate.
So I got my license. I went. It was like, all right, you got to find a broker.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to find a broker to work under. So I found a broker, and it was downtown. And that's where I wanted to work. So mind you, it was 8-9 years ago at this point. So downtown was just kind of bubbling. It wasn't like popping off like it is right now. It was kind of happening.
Right.
But you could see it was happening, but it wasn't like what it is. And I'm like, all right, I want to be down here. This is where all the action gonna be. Blah 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 blah. And I'll never forget, bro. She handed me the first day I get my license. I come to her office. I'm like, I'm ready to work. Let's get it. And she handed me a list of like 15 houses. And they was all like 15, 20, 30 grand. Mind you, I just wasn't, I was young, but not like that young where I got family, I had kids, I had a wife, all that. I had a business before this. I'm like, I need some money.
Right.
Need to start making some real money. And I'm like, starting to, think about it like, nah, this ain't the move. Like, I don't want to work down here.
Because what's the commission on like a $30,000 house?
What, 2 G's maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
And the amount of work that
you gotta
it
put
would
a shit
take.
ton of work into it. I don't know if I'm supposed to be cussing or not. Put a ton of work into it. I'm straight. So I told her like, no, I want to be down here. Blah blah blah. She like, basically she hit me like, you gotta walk before you crawl type.
Okay.
And I was just
Prove
like,
yourself.
Basically, and I was just like, nah, like I'm straight. Like I don't want to do work like that. I just don't want to work like that. I know how this game. I know how it works. I'm not like I'm a novice in theory, but not like a super novice. You know what I mean? Like I don't know nothing. So I'm on that way. Cranes put out at the time. I don't know if they still do it. I think they did recently. They put out a 20, 30 people that you need to know in real estate. It's like, I don't remember if it was specifically commercial, but I don't think it was commercial. It was just real estate. And it was all these people on there, and I called every one of them.
Nice.
I didn't even know why I was calling. I didn't even know what I was just calling to get some direction. You know what I mean? Like, because I knew I didn't want to do that list. I was like, I don't think this is how that works. Like, maybe it is, maybe they, but I need to hear another opinion. So I'm calling. Most people just kind of dismiss me. Some people talk to me. A couple of people, gave me some work. A couple people was like, whatever. Like, why you calling me?
How many people picked up? You said 30 out of the 30.
I would say I can't remember the exact number that was on this list, but of the people that I actually talked to, I probably talked to a good 8.
Okay. That's actually a pretty good success rate.
Good 8, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was the 2 women was the ones who really talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the one other lady's name. She was an attorney. She's a commercial real estate attorney. I'll never forget that. I can't remember her name right now. I've always, if I see it, I know it. The other one was Brenda Jordan. And she worked at Wayne State at the time. I think she did the finances or something like that for the commercial real estate.
Yeah, so Brenda was on the list.
You know Brenda?
Absolutely. Brenda with
Brenda.
The neighborhood store.
Yeah. Brenda was the one who put me on.
Nice.
100%, no question. Brenda was the one who said to me, why don't you do commercial? And I was just like, what does that mean? I thought everybody did everything.
Mm-hmm.
I literally just thought everybody did everything. And she was like, no, basically kind of gave me a breakdown. And from there, I just remember, all right, well, I need to call commercial brokers. You know what I mean? And that was a whole thing itself. Because commercial real estate brokerage is a little different from residential in the sense of, in residential, you get your license. For the most part, that a broker should take you on. you got a license, you're willing and able body will take you on. Whether or not you're gonna be successful or get the right training, I don't know. But they will tell you, all right, come on.
Right.
Commercial real estate not like that. Bro. They want just a more of a formal interview process. They want background. They want degrees. It's a small. They
So
got
essentially, it's harder to get into commercial.
For sure.
And in a way, it probably scares a lot of people away.
Here's the thing, not even enough people try to get into it for people to get scared away. Maybe it's people getting scared away. But I'll be honest with you, like, it's more people like me who don't know that this is a different world than it is people who actually know, like, all right, no, this is different, it's the same. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's more of a, it's a boys club or whatever. For the most part, there's barely any women in it. It ain't, there ain't hardly none of us in it. For
Diversity
sure.
wise, it's not.
Diversity is probably like the least diverse, thing on the planet. To be honest with you, it's some places just kind of bubbling up now, but it's I walk in a room. I go to a conference in Vegas every year. There's 30,000 people there. I can count how many black folks there. Like legit, it's not 200 people there. Those there. You know what I mean?
Now, do you think that hinders you?
I don't know if it hinders. I would just say it makes it just an extra level of difficulty to move around. Only because it's a lot of times whatever stereotype exists, people like sometimes don't want to like believe it, but they exist. So you always get hit with the. I've had people straight up tell me, "Oh, you black," when they see me on the phone. If I see them in person, I got hit with that a couple times. To be honest with you, even in a lot of people don't. They have that bias, prejudice, whatever the word is there, just on the strength of, especially. I'll tell you another thing, because I had my locks too. That was the whole thing. I just think it makes it gets you an extra layer of difficulty. Is what I'm saying. It's not you can maneuver around it. Once you get in, you're in. But there's an extra level of you got to prove it to get in here to the door. Is what I'll say. For sure. Especially because where you might get some leniency. If this person interviewing you leniency and you know them and whatever, it's nobody to know. Half the people get jobs or whatever because they know somebody.
Yeah.
Or you know somebody who knows somebody.
Right.
We walking into a whole new world. I didn't know nobody, not a single person.
So what made the first brokerage, commercial brokerage? How did you convince them? Throughout that interview process, that you were the right person for the job?
To be honest with you, it was damn near luck. Cause I interviewed. So once you go down the rabbit hole of looking for a brokerage, and then you go on the commercial side. You type in everybody Google. Your first Google search is commercial real estate brokerages. In that search, you're gonna get all the big dogs. You're gonna get the CBREs. You're gonna get the JLLs. You're gonna get the Marcus and Millichaps. You're gonna get the Newmarks. You're gonna get the whatever. I know I'm missing somebody. Colliers, whatever. These some of the biggest companies in the world. These not even just like big local. These are. They do. CBRE does business all over the world.
Right.
So that's why they got a standard that they really bring you on. A lot of times they bring kids. To be honest with you, it's even being older was the thing. Because a lot of them brokerages, they go into the universities and they recruit everybody out of school.
Wow. On the commercial side?
Yeah, and they bring you in young. A lot of the guys that come in, like especially even now, like they're younger guys. They started at 19, 18, 20, 21.
Wow.
And they just kind of get groomed along the way. So just being older, having a family, all that. But as far as my brokers that chose me, because I had a lot of people straight up tell me, you need a degree. They wanted to see a degree. I don't got a degree. I don't have a degree. I dropped out. But I got lucky, like legit, like a guy. His name's Harry. Here he come. He's literally the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing. He had his own brokers. He had broke away from one of the bigger regional brokerages and started his own thing. I was his first employee. And we just kind of connected,
Nice. So walk us through your first deal, right? I mean, like you mentioned earlier, at one point somebody showed you, a handful of homes at $30,000, $15,000 for you to sell. What about on the commercial side? The first deal you were able to actually, get under your belt. How did it shape you in the way that you approach real estate transactions, now?
So I'm gonna give it's two answers there. I got my first actual deal was a lease. A retail lease of a shop at a shopping center with a beauty salon. And now I just got put on like at the time, so I get a new brokerage, you had no business. But a lot of times, what like at my brokerage now, we would call that person your senior. If you got a good senior who really trying to help you out and looking out for you, they'll put you on one of their deals. You're not gonna get a big piece of it,
right?
And you're gonna do a lot of work, but they'll put you on a small, they give you a little small percentage of the deal, put a couple dollars in your pocket, and that's exactly what happened. He was leasing, he was a leasing person, the leasing associate on the shopping center, and he had a deal. He's like, hey, call this lady, see if we can figure something out. That's how it worked for me. My first probably 2 deals I did were I just got put on, to learn on the job. I made I'll be honest, I made like $2,500, on this deal. Probably a piece on each deal. And I was ecstatic, bro. To be honest with you. I wasn't, obviously I was trying to make some money, but it was more so we was moving. Like I started in, let's just say September, and I had my first check in November. So, I was like, just let's do it, like whatever. I knew like you got to pay your dues and put your time in. But yeah, that was my first leasing deal. That was my first actual deal in real estate was a beauty salon. It was in apartment. My first sale was an apartment though, on the east side in Islandview.
Nice.
72 units.
72 units. How much did that go for?
1.4.
Wow.
1.4. That took about a year and some change.
A full year to sell.
Or I had my first sale.
So let me understand this. You were assigned that property. I don't know if I'm mentioning this the proper way, or you're the agent of that property.
Nah, that's not what happened.
Okay.
That was an off-market deal we kind of put together.
Okay. Nice.
Which I don't recommend.
Okay.
I don't recommend doing off-market deals. I know people love them, but.
So 1.4. You mind if I ask how much you made off of that?
I don't care about that. We made $60,000 off that deal.
Okay.
I got half.
Off of one deal, you got 30 grand.
30 grand, right before Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Right before Christmas, like in December. It was like December 1st or something like that.
Nice.
Better they call it. That deal took a while, man. It was a lot of relationship building. Mind you, at this time, so about that time, I've always been good at building relationships. That was a relationship with a church that I had built. Just kind of just stayed in front of them, stayed in front of them. I knew they had this deal. They owned, at this time, that church owned a lot of stuff. Actually, a lot of churches own a lot, to be honest with you. And you just stayed in front of them. I was going to see them and, talking to them, just persistence. That's the number one thing, especially a lot of people overthink what's the most important thing in the business is. I would say that your follow-up game is, if it ain't number one, it's 1A, 1B or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's up there.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And then when it was time for them to even evaluate that property, they called me. And luckily I had a good mentor. We had one of his friends in the office, Todd, was an apartment. His family had owned a bunch of real estate. There was commercials, they owned apartments and all kind of stuff all over. So I was able to, underwrite that deal. I learned underwriting along the way, which was vital. I don't think you can sell deals without knowing how to underwrite deals. You can't actually, especially if it's got income coming in. So that helped me learn the underwriting process along the way, evaluating comps, all that. But yeah, it took a while. That deal, it was a lot of. Actually, to be honest with you, that was getting it under contract was harder than once it was under contract, it was kind of smooth sailing. And that's not always the case. But that deal in particular, once we were under contract, it was smooth sailing.
Now, is that a typical? Because when I see properties on sale for 1, 2, 1, 4, in the millions in general, I would assume that the turnaround time could be 6 months, a year plus. Is that pretty average?
It really depends on the property. What's funny is I don't even like doing apartments. And that's kind of why I'm more on the retail side of it. There's so many variables in apartments. There's so many different levels of sophistication. And it is on a lot of deals, but apartments got the level of sophistication from the buyers and the sellers can vary drastically. Typically on shopping centers, retail, industrial, office, the buyers and sellers are in the same realm of sophistication.
Right.
Apartments is all over the place because it's just the natural progression for most investors to get to is apartments. Like it's the easiest, most available information that you can have is apartments investing. So you got everybody from, anybody with a couple dollars in their pocket to somebody who's got billions in their pockets. They do apartments. I mean, that's the same with it, but a lot of times those they collide a lot, because you never know what that person who's buying intentions are for whatever deal, because you can, some people have big, you might be a person who got inherited a property, or you might even been a person who scaled up from a flat to apartments, and you just kind of growing. But that person who's buying might be, they might own 10,000 units or 5,000 units or whatever the number is, and they got this big sophisticated portfolio, and they got a sophisticated underwriting process and all this, and they want to scale up huge, or they might be, big value add guys who want to turn low income housing to luxury or something. So you never, it can be, and then that's what makes that process a little bit more difficult than other asset types. So,
and do REITs? You work with REITs as well, right?
Typically the REITs, if you be a REIT, that means you in those are big leagues.
Yeah.
We're talking, those guys probably won't even look at nothing under 5 to probably even 1,000 units.
Wow.
And it might be able to pick up Yeah, I mean that's a big reason. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of times those REITs run in like the most sophisticated people, not the most, but typically more sophisticated. You got an underwriter, they got their own attorneys, they got a person who initially evaluated the deal. Because a lot of times with the REITs, you got somebody that finds the deals, then they hand it off to the underwriter. Then the underwriter hands it off to the attorney. Then you got a transaction person, and that first person, that acquisition guy, never talks to this person. They don't even know each other. They might not even know each other.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes these REITs are these huge companies. So I mean, it just makes it, and mind you, they might be buying from your mother,
Right.
who got inherited to that property.
Got it. Because they don't
have an attorney.
Why focus on the retail side more so than the residential, multi-unit facilities? Like, what excites you about the retail sector?
I just think, to be honest with you, there's twofold. One is, you kind of just do whatever your mentor knows. So he's a retail guy. He dabbles, he does a little bit of everything. He's more of a market guy, but retail is his specialty. And so from there, that's what I worked on the most when I was young, when I was first got into the game. But what I took a liking to with apartments is there is a base level, retail, there's a base level of sophistication that you generally have, because you're dealing with, even on the leasing, you're dealing with business owners. You know what I mean? So you're dealing with small businesses on the low end, and people who are trying to get, they have a process. They might have their stuff together. Sometimes they don't. I'm not saying everybody does. But typically, you're dealing with somebody who knows business in a certain way, and those are always just more pleasurable, interactions.
Right.
That's the baseline. On a higher end, retail to me is where you get the most value in all of real estate. Yeah, you can turn, and it's also the least amount of headache within that value. Because I know the apartment guys, they'll fight me. They'll say, there's more value in apartments because I can turn water into wine, basically. But I would tell you, along that process, you're gonna rot your brain on that process. It's just a harder process. You got to deal with a lot of tenants. You're dealing with families. You're dealing with all this. It's just more convoluted things that you got to work through on the apartment side. On the retail, I'm not saying you don't have headaches and all that. There's definitely less of it. Most of the guys that I know, I would tell you almost damn near everybody that I know who started off in apartments and just got into retail or anything. Retail, industrial, even office. Once they go on to that side, they don't come back for the most part. Like I'm done with the apartments. Like I'm switched over. Like it's just less headache. But there's definitely, my goal as a broker, and I'm here to make people money. I'm here to make you money.
Right.
And I want to do it efficiently with less headache. I don't, obviously you can, that's my goal, and because I want less headache. So that's why I've been on retail side. It just comes from, I feel like it's an easier process to get deals done.
Absolutely. So you sell properties all across the country, right? But let's talk a little bit now about the city of Detroit, the real estate market here, the commercial real estate market here. So Detroit has, definitely undergone, a lot of transformation in the last, 10 plus years. How would you describe the current state of Detroit's commercial real estate market?
I'll get nuanced if we want to. We can get real. There's two different markets. There's downtown and midtown, and I would even probably include Corktown in that at this point. And then there's the neighborhoods. Those are two different monsters, to be honest with you. Like downtown, midtown, the 7.2 as they call it, is that's the shiny toy. That's where all the big developments are happening. That's where the most money is flowing in. That's where it's easy to sell downtowns. It's easy to sell. Hey, come be downtown amongst the universities and the skyscrapers and all the people that's there during the daytime and the sports arenas and all that. The bars. Like you build. It's easy to kind of build momentum and kind of grow from there. Easier. I'm using easy as right. We're still hard, but it's easier, as I say.
Yeah.
And it's still we're still growing. Like obviously the pandemic, we still feeling the effects of the pandemic because with sales downtown, the number is daytime population. Any downtown will tell you daytime population. When you don't have density, Detroit does not have great density in our downtowns because there's not a lot of people actually live downtown or midtown. Those daytime population office workers aren't. It's growing. It's coming back. They'll be back eventually, but it's not there yet. So they still feeling the effects of that. So it's still it's a challenging market to work down here. So I don't want to take away from those guys that's working downtown and midtown. But the neighborhoods is a different animal and a different beast. Different like things that work downtown don't work in the neighborhoods and vice versa.
Right.
And our neighborhoods, where the people are, where you do have density, we still are growing, and we still need more. There's some excitement in certain neighborhoods, Livernois, East Warren, Verner. There's pockets. East English Village. There's pockets of where we can kind of see it bubbling, but it's still not happening at a rate that I think is even where it needs to be. There's still so much room to grow. Like even on Livernois, I'm biased. I'm raised over here, born and raised over here. I think this is the best neighborhood in the city, and there's a lot of things happening over here, but we
tell folks what neighborhood we're in.
Yeah, so 7 in Livernois, we're in they call it, I don't know what they call it as a total, but it's a bunch of neighborhoods. It's Bagley, it's Sherwood Forest, it's Martin Park, it's Sherwood Forest, it's University District, it's what else am I missing? Palmer Park, Palmer Woods, and it's an area that's got great density. You've got the university, UD Mercy. You've got some of the higher incomes in the state from a neighborhood standpoint. If you break it down with the neighborhood, Sherwood Forest, Palmer Park, Green Acres has some of the highest density of neighborhood and income. You put it up against almost a lot of suburbs. People just, they don't know that. We got to get real. You got to break it down on like a neighborhood level. But yeah, Absolutely. It's up there. And this is the busiest corridor, Livernois, 7 Mile. 7 Mile is, anybody from the city knows 7 Mile is, super busy. Livernois is going crazy right now. Super busy, but there's still a lot of room to grow because you still don't have a lot of people who understand commercial and retail doing business, and we still sometimes struggle to bring investment dollars on Livernois.
And then the neighborhoods.
And the neighborhoods in general. And the neighborhoods in general. Livernois is easier to sell than some other neighborhoods, but we need it. You need it all over. You gotta have it. You gotta have it all over. But yeah, it's definitely some work that's got to be put in. We got to change some mindsets too to kind of make people realize that it ain't yesterday's price is not today's price, because people still want to operate like it's 20 years ago and think things aren't priced. No one devalues the city like our own people.
That's heavy.
Yeah, because I can bring in. I've sold a lot of my deals. I sell is from, especially in the neighborhoods, is to out of towners. I try to sell it to Detroiters first, but if I tell you that something's worth 1.5 million, and the first thing I'll hear is, who's spending $1 million in Detroit? Plenty, plenty. We just gotta get our own. We gotta get our own people, and I mean Detroiters, to kind of see the value, and try to start investing more and doing more in our neighborhoods.
Absolutely. So, what trends are you seeing in the retail space right now? I know you're focused specifically on retail, and you have your ear to the streets here when it comes to what retail is actually moving, across the city of Detroit and beyond. So, what have you been seeing, hearing, and what are your thoughts in general about like the trends in 2025?
So retail has been going through a huge transition even before the pandemic. And the pandemic just accelerated that movement, but what we're seeing is traditional retail is dying. Your traditional just put some things in a store, let people, wander around and buy stuff, and that's dying. Like that's what's dying. You gotta give people a reason to come to you. What you're seeing is, and this is from big box retail, and what I mean by big box is your Targets, I won't say Target, but I would say your big box, like your Macy's and the Kohl's and Hobby Lobbies, those deals like that. Those retailers that's been around for 70, 80 years, who have this where they just rely on, you just kind of coming in, wandering and buying stuff. Those retailers are the ones that struggle. The retailers that offer a different experience-based retail is where we're moving to. So and that's why you're seeing certain retailers do good and certain retailers struggle.
So what is experience-based retail? Give me a good example of that.
I would tell you a retailer that's doing really well is the Marshalls, TJ Maxx, that's a whole, and Home Goods. Those are the same company, 3 different brands. They give you more experience because you going in there and it's something new every time you go in there. So a lot of times people, they go in there just to see what's going on. Like having people that like you can't go in TJ Maxx with an idea of what you want.
That's a good point. You really can't.
You can't. And all 3 of them stores are like that. Like, yeah, you might say I need a shirt, but you can't go in there and say I want a red polo by Ralph Lauren and I need it. Nah. You going in there to see what they got new. What's the new thing? Like, yeah, again, you might have an idea what you want, But that's all it is, an idea. You just want to see what's new in there. You're trying to see. Another example of that is some of these smaller boutique clothing stores that's kind of popping up. The bonobos, where, let me back up. The other kind of thing is you just need some kind of experience where, where we're seeing in like that. I would tell you, I'm gonna give you it's a couple of answers. The experience based discount, anything discount, where I feel like I'm getting value.
Yeah. Is
typically doing well.
Yep.
That's why you're still seeing some of these dollar stores. Now they are closing a bunch of stores, but they kind of just expanded too fast, and now they just recorrecting it.
Yeah.
But they still, like, a good dollar store does very well. Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, and Dollar General. But people feel like they walking in there, they're getting some kind of value.
Right.
The other thing is, again, like the experience. Like we got here, a big Lily and Elise, the tea shop. She gives you a whole English tea time dining experience. You can't get that everywhere.
Right.
You can go to Starbucks and get tea, but this is not even that. Like, you're not really going to, you can go in there and walk out and grab a tea. Sure, she'll do that. I know she will. But her business is based around you coming in there, having an experience, enjoying the aesthetics, enjoying the service, bringing your friends, y'all sitting there, having, finger foods, things of that nature, and just kind of enjoying yourself. That's why you're seeing a lot of restaurants that do that. We're seeing an uptick in cigar bars, where people are just going in, they having that experience and giving that more, especially with the cigars, is more of an upscale luxury feeling. Again, but that's the same concept as Lily and Elise. You coming in there, you smoking a cigar, you having, a lot of times they don't even have food, or it's just finger food, or it's something what's fulfilled in restaurants, but it's more of a laid back kind of experience. That's the big thing. Like, everything. Like retailers that we go after, if it's not just totally food related, is something you got to give some kind of experience to go with it, or we just don't feel like you're going to be able to sustain.
Absolutely.
That and food is going crazy right now.
So, you've brokered deals in multiple states. I think you had deals in Cali, Maine, amongst other, locations, right? But how does Detroit compare to those other markets?
It is, I always tell people, value. Detroit was very low in, the entry, the barrier to entry to do business in Detroit is low. That needs to rise, because we need it to rise from like a property value sake, and it has risen. But comparatively to a lot of other cities and metro areas, it's still a lower barrier to entry than obviously New York and LA, but even anywhere in the South at this point. Like once you get to the Sun Belt, that's Texas and Alabama and Florida. Florida's booming right now, and barrier to entry in those are high. And I would say generally the Midwest right now is where you're seeing a lot of value. You see a lot of value in the Midwest, and you see a lot of value in urban areas, where it's not pretty. Like Cleveland, it's like that. Milwaukee's like that. Baltimore's like that. And then some of these Kansas City's like that. That Midwest Bible Belt. There's a lot of value in those, because it's not, you don't have the greatest weather. It's not a lot of people. It's people moving here, but it's not like, it's tens of thousands of people moving to Florida every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? California, same thing. Like the barrier is so high in New York and California that you come here and you're like, oh, I can actually make some money here. So that's comparatively speaking, Detroit is even lower than some of the other cities, where it's just, you still got that stigma that you always got to fight against. I call it the Detroit tax. I just had this conversation the other day. We was pricing a property out. I got a property that's available right now that if it was located anywhere else in the country, it'd probably be worth another $1 million. No, if it was worth literally the real estate, the basic real estate fundamentals of this property are awesome. But if it's in Detroit, so people want that Detroit tax. So it's, this one in particular might be $1 million cheaper than if it was in Florida. If it was in Florida, it might be worth $1.5 million more dollars.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But it's in Detroit. But that somebody who recognizes that, they love it. Because I can get the same value. People, the return on your money. That's the number one thing. What's the return on my money? You're gonna get a better return on your money investing in Detroit and the Midwest as a whole. Maybe outside of Chicago, even Chicago to a certain extent, than you would damn near anywhere else in the country.
So if you were to kind of look back on your previous deals, like what have been some of the common mistakes that investors or business owners make or have made when like acquiring commercial properties?
Taking on more than they can handle. It's not even close. Like sometimes just because you can do it don't mean you should do it. Small business owners take on more space than they need all the time, which to rent more rent. And the investors, they take on bigger properties than they should have, or a property that needs more work than they originally thought, or they thought they could handle. You got to understand your limits, especially as an investor. Because I know some guys, I sold a deal to. I feel bad to this day about it. Not that I did anything wrong. I feel bad in the sense of like, he just took on more than he could chew. You know what I mean? And it hurt him. Like he had to probably, hopefully he can rectify, work on it, getting it rectified. But you see that a lot, where guys like they see the shiny toy, and they don't understand that I got it for this price. Well, you got it for a price for a reason, and redeveloping some of these properties is tough, especially in the city where it's an extra layer of tough. There's an extra layer of work that's got to be put in. Some people, they just they underestimate the work that you got to put in and get these properties to their maximum capabilities. Where's the blind spot of where Detroit is slacking? Where's somebody could come in and make some money? It's industrial. It's not even close to me. Industrial is booming all over the country, and Detroit has a ton of old industrial. And Metro Detroit in general. The problem is industrial's had this big boom probably in the last 10 years. The problem is, as more companies coming to Detroit and Michigan as a whole, it's more online companies who just need storage space, big storage space. The need of industrial is there. The problem is a lot of Detroit stuff, we have it, it's just so old and it's sat for 30 years. So a lot of these big industrial parks you see, or these big industrial buildings you see, like, hey, it's so old that you might have to, yes, the bones are there, but those bones they're brittle. And so a lot of times these companies, they don't have they need more industrial space, but they don't have it. It's nowhere for them to go. So Detroiters are losing out to some of the other cities are Indiana and Cincinnati's and Columbus, some of the other highways, just kind of cities that can deliver industrial at a higher rate, or they're building. The other issue with Detroit that Detroit has in general too is our rents don't make sense. We're not New York, we're not LA, we're not Florida, where I can just build something. This is where the difficulty is in doing development in Detroit, is in Michigan, Detroit in particular, is those areas, the demand is so high that I can build it, and I can, on the back end, even if I go over budget a little bit, I can probably just get more rent and charge you top dollar to make my numbers work.
Absolutely.
Eventually.
Yep.
Detroit is not like that. We are very behind on what our market rent should be, and as to where construction costs are. So you can't just build and say, all right, I built this building at this number. For me to make money without subsidies,
right,
I can just charge, from a retail standpoint, this is industrial too, I can just charge you $30, $40 a square foot to make it make sense. You can't do that in Detroit. You can't, because our market rates aren't high. Even the highest number that you can say in the neighborhood, like right now, to build without, I should probably be getting $50 a square foot somewhere. Market rents only tell me it's 20. We got a big gap. So a lot of times things don't make sense
without that subsidy.
Without that subsidy, and that's the extra layer of work doing business in Detroit that a lot of people just stay away from. I don't want to deal with that. Like, I know a lot of guys, even in Michigan, where they don't have to deal with that in the suburbs.
Right.
They don't have to deal with that in a different city. Like there's guys in Michigan who won't come in Detroit because they like, I don't want to even have to learn that game.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's the issue with the industrial is, come back to industrial is, to renovate some of this industrial is super expensive.
Yeah.
And industrial, you don't have, some of these spaces, we talking single digits per square foot. But we're talking 2, 3, 4, 500 million square feet.
Yeah. Right.
But a deal even for the biggest companies, like, yeah, $8 a square foot sound good, but I need to be getting 15 for it to make sense. Not too many people are, developing or going into doing that. So if there was a way for somebody to figure it out, industrial in the city, I think you could tap in and make some money.
So if you could develop one dream project in the city of Detroit, what would it be and where?
One dream project.
You had all the financing in place, gap funding already in place, or subsidy more specifically. You got the tax, your abatement's already approved.
Man, I think I would do a mixed use building. I would do a mixed use retail and apartments, but with some scale, and I would do it I would try to figure it out along the Livernois corridor. And I mean, if there was a way to do really nice workhouse, affordable housing with retail, I'm talking, let's put 60, 70,000 square feet of 50,000 per retail somewhere, and let's put 500-600 units somewhere.
Okay.
I think that would help now we talking scale. We talking something nice that, you know, average family can maybe move into, somebody, or even out of, you know, something like that. That would bring a lot of bodies to the neighborhoods, and now these businesses will be able to eat off of that, feed off whatever's going on. Like you want to build synergy. Synergy is a big thing. You want to build synergy for a neighbor, like for whatever area you're in, because that development will feed off that. The old apartments will feed off of that. Businesses will feed off of that. That would be the most effective. I know it's like that's a pipe dream, but
that's not a pipe dream.
It's not a pipe dream.
One thing that scares me is you say 50,000 in commercial space.
I might be exact, but a lot of commercial space. I would have to be, because I want more small businesses to have space.
Absolutely.
Like even on Livernois, we don't have a lot of space. There's space available, but it's not a lot. Like we need more. Like we just need more. We need more restaurants. We need more shopping.
More density. There isn't any apartment complex on this, you know, strip of Livernois between 6 and 8, is it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You can take it down to even the Lodge.
Okay. How many units would you say is on that corridor?
Not many at all. I mean, if we just
like residential units.
Residential apartment units.
So there's opportunity there.
Is it 500? Like I'd be surprised if it was even that many.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? In the whole corridor, because I mean, you got duplexes, there's small apartments here and there, but even that, like, it's not a lot. Like, it's not a lot at all.
Absolutely, man. So, what keeps you motivated in this industry? And I'm assuming, and this is actually another question I want to ask you. How much real estate have you sold up to this point?
You know what? What's funny is the actual number I don't know. I am not great with like keeping up with that kind of stuff. That most people can. I know people that can tell you off the top of their head, I did 80 million, 90 million, or 100 million, whatever the number is.
What would you guess you sold?
I would say I'm probably in. I think I've done 100 million.
100 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I've done 100 million. I think I've done 100 million.
So that's a motivator. when you're selling $100 million in commercial real estate,
it's easier over time too. It's easier. Like I tell people that number, or I've like talked about this number before. Not me in particular, but I've talked about, you know, one of the reasons you come to commercial real estate on the broker side is, I feel like it's easier. It's easier to make more money. There's some residential guys that's crushing. I know they make more than me. I know they are. But on a scale in the percentage wise, there's a lot of residential brokers who just end up not making no money, or they don't make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's easier for us on our side to make, you know, 200-300 grand. You know what I mean?
In a year.
Yeah, it's an easier road to get to those at a higher number than it is on the residential side. And even me saying like, oh, I did 100 million, I can tell you, I know single people who've done $1 billion.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
$1 billion.
Yeah.
With a B.
Over time they did it, but I know, you know, individuals who've done $1 billion worth of real estate, probably and more. So it just kind of scale. That's what kind of keep you. I would tell you that's what probably keep me going. It's just like I ain't really did nothing. You kind of want to make some kind of impact in some form or fashion, like in the long run, and you know, you like whatever how much you've done or whatever impact you think you did. You know, it's somebody that's, you know, you always playing catch up to somebody else.
So speaking of that, you sold 100 million in real estate, you know, an estimated guesstimate, you know. How do you continue to keep growing in this space? You know, like how do you continue to level up? when it comes to what you're doing in order to get to that Billy number?
There's always, so you just, I am a firm believer in specialty. And you either you make that adjustment, you just gotta hyper focus on something. And I think the way to do it is scale. It's cool to be a generalist and just maybe just like I'm a market guy. Like I just know my market and I just do everything within my market. But I would tell you that the guys that I know who are uber successful, those guys that have done $1 billion in their careers, they all are specialists. They're like, I only, in a commercial you can get very specific in like what you work on. There's guys that only do shopping centers. I know guys that only do shopping centers over 25 million.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like I don't work on anything less than that. There's guys who only do pharmacy, like sell, single tenant pharmacy deals. There's guys that only sell apartments. There's guys that only sell apartments over 500 units. Like there's guys who sell industrial, but there's guys that I only sell industrial over 1 million square feet. Like I think that's, you just gotta keep grinding toward that, finding that process that worked for you and then implement it. Like if you don't have a process, I don't know how you do it, to be honest with you.
So, which kind of leads me into this next question, and this is where I just want you to provide any type of advice for an aspiring commercial real estate broker, looking to get into the game. They see in this video and they're like, wow, if Marcel can do it, maybe I can too.
Find a mentor. Like find somebody who actually want to work, who actually is showing you the game, and you gotta soak it up and work under them. You gotta pay for it. Like, some people think somebody just gonna do it for free. Nah, you gonna end up paying for it in one way or another, whether it's through commissions or actually just paying them. But you can't, don't be short-sighted, because I've scared a lot of people away from being in the business when I tell them that, yeah, you gotta have a mentor, but that person don't work for free. They're not gonna just teach you what they know for free, and you probably aren't your first 2 years is you're not gonna make money.
Right.
So you just gotta have patience. You gotta have patience. You seek it through. And I'm also, like I said before, I'm a specialty person. I feel like you should, if I don't do leasing hardly no more. I moved into mostly sales. I do leasing I am very picky on the leasing that I do at this point. Like it's gotta be, I got my criteria that I have for like if I'm gonna take on some leasing. But just be specific, like, hey, I'm gonna, if you don't wanna stick to one asset type, I would tell you then you need to stick to a market. And be that expert in that market. And even then, don't make that market too big. You want to be hyper focused. Because then because you're gonna get pulled away. Because once you get your name out there, that's what I did. I'll be honest with you. I was trying to do too much. And I was getting pulled in every way, and I was just taking on whatever assignment, and then this was lacking. Just find that broker, find that mentor, and I would tell you to try to specialize, hyper specialize. Don't even just hyper specialize on something for scale reasons.
Absolutely. So finally, where can people find you if they want to connect with you or work with you?
So So I used to be way more active on social media as related to the business. I kind of eliminated social media. I still, like, my pages are still active. But I kind of eliminated because it was just kind of too distracting for me. I'm easily distracted. So I would just tell you, text, call, email. LinkedIn, I check the socials. I'm not a person who like, oh, I don't have socials, I don't ever check them. I check them. Like I don't have the apps on my phone, but I'll check them from my computer or whatever. So, LinkedIn, Instagram, I think my name is Detroit Commercial Real Estate. And yeah, that's probably the two easiest ways. I got Detroit Commercial Real Estate on Facebook page too.
Okay, man. Why no social media, man?
It's too distracting.
It is.
It's way too distracting. I'm easily distracted. Even if I get on there for like business reasons, like I had a page. I got two different Instagram pages. I got my personal and I had a business page. But even you get on there for the business page and you scroll and next thing, we're 30 minutes in with that. And like, I don't even know what happened. Like, I didn't even do nothing. I just like mine. So I deleted all of them. The only thing I got on my phone at this point as an app is I do have LinkedIn on my phone and I do have TikTok on my phone. It's not for work though. The only reason TikTok's still on my phone is because people send me videos and TikTok don't work right without an app.
Yeah. So talk about 22 a square. Is that pretty average for this area? Is that what are your thoughts on 22 a square?
So 22 a square foot is top of the market for the area. We've been able to achieve those numbers, and because we are a new redevelopment. So typically, newer projects cost more than what's already been around. So in an area, I would tell you that most of the along Livernois is around that $15 to $17 range.
But like you said, this is a new product.
It's a new project. Very expensive to build. Most people know in the city it's expensive to build.
But then you also got baked in residential units and tenants in here too. So how many residential?
12. I think it's 12.
12. Nice. Okay.
So, but also you are paying for a hard corner. Like that's from a real estate fundamental standpoint. You want to be on our hard corners are our goal.
Absolutely.
The hard corners, Main Street, Main on Main.
Yep.
Right at a light. There's the apartments upstairs. You're paying for perks as well. You get new facade. You're not worried. You don't have to worry about is the HVAC working, is the plumbing working. All that's new. You're talking brand new. There's nothing in this building that's old. Like you hear a couple walls here and there that might be, old brick walls, but everything in here is, brand new. So that's typically what you pay for. Like, and you're paying for it. You also paying. You're paying to be amongst the other businesses that are around here. You want foot traffic. People love foot traffic. That's from my days of working on some of the bigger brands. They'll tell you, we want density, traffic, income, foot traffic. This means everything.
Absolutely.
Literally everything.
Yeah. What type of tenant can go here? Like pretty much anything? Like a restaurant? Obviously a restaurant build would be expensive, like, because I'm not exactly sure if there is room behind here for the grease duct to go.
So I would tell you, if we didn't already have, we got technically two restaurants already in the development.
Nice.
So for this space, we got two spaces left. We have to be very specific on the type of restaurant that we take on here. We don't want it to conflict with the other two restaurants. Those two don't have any, those are two totally different concepts.
Okay.
So the concept that comes here needs to not be in direct competition of those two.
Understandable. If it's a restaurant.
If it is a
restaurant.
If it be anything else, so I can do, damn near everything else. We can do medical. We can do kind of, what else can we do? I can do anything with clothing, fashion. I can do.
I know you got a nail salon coming.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We have to be very, once you already have tenants, because we have a nail salon, we have a yoga, we have a computer store, we have a beauty supply, we got the 2 restaurants. So you have to be very specific. The last 2 are usually the hardest.
Okay.
Because we don't want any business to come here that's going to be in competition with our tenants that's already here. That's not fair to the tenants that's already here. And also, you don't want to be in competition with yourself, because if we put another nail salon in, or hair, something beauty related, then they're going to be in competition with each other. They'll cannibalize each other. And somebody's probably going to end up leaving, and then we got to redo this again. And we don't want that. We want, my goal is to put somebody here who's here long term.
Absolutely.
We don't want a revolving door of tenants, of retail tenants coming in and out of here every so often, because that gets expensive. It's time consuming, and nobody. And then the business is on there. We want the business to be set up for success.
Sorry, how many units in total for your commercial space?
Commercial, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8.
Wow, so you got 8 spaces, and how many are rented out?
6.
6, nice. And so what type of businesses are currently already?
So right now we have a computer business where you can go in, you can buy computers, you can get repairs, you learn, some things about computers. They do classes and all that, and they do a lot of stuff with the youth around the city. We have a beauty supply and beauty salon that's here. We have a yoga studio. We have a nail shop that's coming. She should be open hopefully, but before I would say just give her by the end of the year. I don't really know the time frame, to be honest with you. And we got a restaurant in the corner. That's the main, just attraction. That space was always going to be a restaurant. It had to be a restaurant. And then we got Lily Elise was a tea shop, English tea, and then we got one more vacancy.
Wow.
Yeah, so 2 more vacancies.
Wow. So out of 8 commercial bays, 6 of them leased up. That's actually pretty good. But how long has it taken to get to this point?
It took a while, only because it took a while because we when I took over, like I said, I took over from another brokerage, another one of the bigger brokerages, and I thought when I took over from the other brokerage, I thought that previous brokerage had a good chunk of the space leased too. Mm-hmm. This was pre-pandemic. He had a good chunk. I thought I only had maybe 2 or 3 spaces left to lease to take over. All those leases died that they had. Yeah. So we had to end up redoing the whole thing. Then we went through the pandemic. Then we went through a big thing with Illinois was the construction. That took us. You do your majority of your leasing in the summers and the springs. So we lost 2 summers. Because what happened with the pandemic obviously was a big thing, and then the construction affected businesses like most people don't really understand. Construction can really damper a whole retail corridor. But it was needed. We needed the construction, but
in specific, what specific construction are you referring to?
So they redid the streetscape. Yeah. So what the city did was we had an old median that went down Illinois. There's still some parts of it when you go further south, but they had an old median that was there, and they ripped out that median, and then they also, with the streetscape was they installed new street lights, and then they bumped out the sidewalks. So now they created, within our sidewalks, they created bike lanes, and they also just bumped out the sidewalks. So a lot of the restaurants now, you can have outdoor dining along. So. But that took a whole year. We lost the summer. That hurt us from a leasing standpoint. And then we were recovering. But and then there's just challenges along the way with leasing because we have to be very specific. You have to be very specific when you're doing retail leasing. You just can't take on everybody who most people think, I got the money, give me the space. It don't work like that. It's more so like a vetting process, and in the neighborhoods it's more difficult because you just have to a lot of hand holding along the way, and then you're dealing with it's new construction, so people don't understand the scale of the build out that you end up having to do. It's not, you're not just taking over a space that used to be something here. You're not taking over an old tax office, or you're not taking over an old restaurant. You building from scratch. You taking over 4 walls, and you gotta get your construction guy in here to design, or your architect in here to design, and tell you where the electrical is, and tell you where the where to put the plumbing. What's the most effective way of where everything lines up at, and how you want your customers where they need to sit, and that gets very, very expensive. So a lot of people don't understand how expensive it is to take over a space like that. And so my job to vet that person and make sure they got a good understanding, and that can take a while. You got to have a level of patience to do business in the city. I care. So I'm okay with being patient. Sometimes it wears on me, but I'm okay with being patient with some of these small businesses that don't know. That's why I say there's a lot of hand-holding along the way.
Absolutely.
But you got spaces that's been sitting. Some of these new developments, especially ones in the neighborhoods, they've been sitting. Because it's difficult, and a lot of times it's very few brokers who can maneuver the neighborhoods and do business in the neighborhoods in an effective way. So it takes time. Yes.
So when it comes to the lease side of commercial real estate, like, how does that work?
So you typically have, you sign there's a term. Typically minimum you like to see, especially on the development and shopping centers, you want to see like a minimum of like 5. You want 5. More established tenants like longer leases. Less established tenants want something shorter, just in case, especially if it's something new.
You mean 5 years?
Yeah,
5-year leases. Gotcha.
I would say the bare minimum for a lease is usually 3. We typically won't do 3 here, just because if you want, a lot of times it doesn't make financial sense to do a shorter lease, especially if you need tenant improvement from the landlord. It doesn't make sense in 3 years. So typically, like, all our leases have been 5 years. So it's typically 5 years. There's usually escalations in rent. There's what you call the triple net versus gross. Triple net is just triple net leases are the expenses for the building are passed through to the tenants. And typically the expenses are the insurance, the taxes, and maintenance. So maintenance is snow removal, garbage, cleanup, things of that nature, just to kind of keep it running. If there's like shared bathroom spaces, sometimes there's a shared water bill or something like that. Gross leases, you pay one fee, and the landlord take, if it's anything outside of that fee, that lease rate, the landlord takes care of it. It's, so if anything fluctuates, the landlord just kind of eats that. Both have their benefits, both have their downsides. I always tell people that triple net leases are typically better. It just, especially for the landlord, the problem with a lot of times with triple net leases is, and why some tenants don't like them, is because they're not explained thoroughly and how they work. So people think my rent is just getting jacked up, but it's not. It's really like, hey, here's the reason why this is on triple net, because your base rent won't change. You always know your base rent, but sometimes those taxes or insurance might change, or you might get sometimes more snow. Like, it's based on last year's numbers. Right. So if we got more snow this year than we got last year, then obviously I'm spending more money. Then your triple net, your maintenance fee of that is gonna go up a little bit. And then obviously there's the commission portion of it. We as brokers, we get paid on the total lease. So where it's different from, I think, a residential lease, I think they get paid like a month and a half or a month of rent or something like that. I don't know. But we get paid on the total lease. So let's just say you get a 5-year lease, and that lease is paying $100,000 total over the 5 years.
Just to make it easy, yeah.
Yeah, just clean numbers. That over the 5 years, they're paying $20,000 a year. We get paid 6% of that $100,000.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So that's how our commission works.
Yep.
On the commercial leasing. So the thing about real estate, it's not for the weak. Real estate it's not even an efficient way to make money. It's not. Like, it's for a long-term wealth building. If you really just want to make some money and and build something, like, you just start a small business, like start a business. 9 times out of 10, it's gonna make you money and build your cash flow up better,
quicker than real estate. 100%.
Bro, like, it take years and years, and like, it take years to start making money with a business, but we talking, like, it might, it's just not efficient, and it's like the headache of it. Like, I talk about real estate, people I'm like, nah, it's just not for the weak, bro. It's not for everybody. Like, that's from being an investor. Even on a broker side, it's not for everybody. But especially on the investor side, it's not. If you really want to just make some money and you want to build your capital, go start a business. Way more efficient than doing real estate. It's just, I would tell you that being a broker is more efficient than actually investing in real estate. If you just want to, like, I need some.
Of course, man, you just threw off a $200,000 to $300,000 a year number all day.
Yeah, it's just, you gotta. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying go if you need some cash and you want to build your cash flow up first, and you just want to be more efficient and you want less. It's still a lot of headache. Come on, man, I'm saying it's still headache and everything, but go do a business. Go. That's a more efficient route of making money.
Absolutely.
Doing real estate. Bro.
What businesses do you see? Because you look at numbers as a commercial broker as well. What businesses do you see that have the most or the highest amount of cash flow?
The issue that I always see with small businesses, people who start small businesses, they don't cater to. Most small businesses cater to who people think have money. So a lot of small businesses are catered to people who have higher incomes. Where if you go look at the businesses that are like billion-dollar companies, they service a lot of times in lower income areas, and it's just providing somewhere for them to do something or service them, like, hey, I'm providing goods, or I'm making it easier for you to spend money. Like, that's dollar stores. Like, people hate dollar stores, and they like not to, they look ugly business, but they crank. You get a good one, they make good money. Like, sometimes people they overthink it, where I need to go where people spending money, or I need to be around people who got money. Nah, you cater a business to lower income areas, or people who it's not as wealthy as who you think. There's a lot of money in doing that, because a lot of times the people everybody spend money. You gotta spend money.
Yeah. You
need your goods. You need your and a lot of times it's just something boring. It ain't always gotta be super flashy. People kind of overthink that. Like, I gotta create. I gotta recreate the wheel with a business. Just build on something that's already established. Just modify it or make it more efficient. Make that process more efficient.
Absolutely.
You will do all right doing that.
So when it comes to your lots, like, how challenging has it been to kind of like keep your identity and keep who you are, especially when it comes to your hair?
It's a balance that you always. It's something tough that you just gotta get comfortable with. Like, you gonna accept me or you not. And I don't really want to even deal with nobody who don't want to accept me. So, you know, if my hair is that big of an issue for you, then we probably just don't need to be doing no business together. I've had 2 people in my career ask me to cut my locks. The one was, I ain't gonna say who it was, but it was somebody close to me in the business. And it wasn't like he was like telling me to cut him. He was just like, would you? Yeah, I think it would be beneficial for you. And we talked about it or whatever, and it was just like, nah, I don't think so. Cause I don't want, if somebody don't want to talk to me or don't want to do business with me because of my locks, then I don't want to do business with them, no way. Yeah. And you just got to be comfortable with yourself with that. The other person was a client of mine whose property I was representing. And he was an old school guy who was raised in an era where they had to do what they had to do to even get their foot in the door. Yeah. So I never was mad at him because he wasn't coming from, we talked it out and he didn't make, we talked it out. He straight up asked me, would you, please, this is my property, I want you to cut your hair. And
wait.
Yeah.
Was this before or after he signed the contract with you?
This was after.
Okay. And then he's now demanding you to.
It wasn't a demand. It was like a nudge. It was. I wouldn't say he had. Yeah, you want to say demand? Then yeah, I can get it. But we ended up talking about it right then and there, and he wasn't coming from a place either of like. He wasn't coming from a place of like. I don't even know the word to use. It wasn't coming from a place of like, I can't do business with somebody like that. Mm-hmm. His more so was, again, this man was damn near 80, 90 years old. Yeah. And he come from an old school mentality where they just wanted to get their foot in the door back then. Mm-hmm. So they did damn near whatever they had to get their foot in the door, and they conformed a lot. Right. My grandfather was the same way. My grandfather would tell you too, like, we just wanted, back then my grandfather was 92 when he passed. But, a lot of those older guys, especially the older African Americans, they conformed in a way that we can't comprehend. And they still, it's hard for you to break that, especially if you made it through, and that was part of the reason that you did make it through. Right. And we talked about it, and that's where his came from. Was just like, that's, you want them to be able, you want people to feel comfortable doing business with you and blah blah blah. And I told him we don't have to work like that no more. Yeah. We don't have to work like that. They either gonna conform, work with us. They gonna want to work with us, or they not. So that's where that was one of those things, bro. It was just like, I'm keeping my hair. Like, if you don't want to do business with me, you can get on. It's just what it is. But you gotta just. Also, it also came from a place of I know I've had discussion before with people about cutting your hair. I'll tell you this: if you can get your foot in the door without doing it and then prove that you belong, it won't matter anymore.
I see.
Because then especially in the game where like the real estate, especially on like the commercial side, at the end of the day, these people really just, can you perform? Right. I don't care what you wear. I don't care what you look like. Can you perform? You gotta get past it initially to prove it. And sometimes people can't get past it. Like, hey, you look a certain way, or you act in a certain way, and you ain't never did nothing before. It's hard for a lot of people not to get past it. I had a bunch of my friends tell me, just cut it, bro. Just cut it. What's the big deal? But now it hasn't been a thing in years at this point because,
you sold $100 million.
I can prove to somebody what I'm talking about. So you can, either you're going to accept it, it's about the work at the end of the day.
Flat out.